Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, another test of the bull market support band. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Now, we put out a thesis in the past that anytime we go below the 8-week moving average, we tend to test the bull market support band. It's sort of an unfortunate consequence of not holding the shorter term moving average. We've seen this play out multiple times back over here in May of 2021. We saw it play out over here in September of 2021. And if you go back and look at the last market cycle, you will note that any time Bitcoin fell below the 8-week moving average, we ended up going back down to test the bull market support band time after time after time. Okay, so we've noticed that before. And therefore, we speculated that, look, guys, I mean, falling below the 8-week, holding the 8-week as support can generally lead to a parabolic rally in the short term, right? I mean, these things get often unsustainable. But breaking it, like we did in September and like we've done in November now, has historically meant that we either test the bull market support band or we come within 2 or 3% of it, okay? You might say, well, what do you mean 2 or 3%? Well, as we've shown in the some past videos, there have certainly been some, like at least once, where we fell below the 8-week here, but we didn't drop all the way down to the bull market support band. And in fact, if we were to take a measured move from the 21-week EMA to the closest point that the price got, we were off by 2 or 3%. All right, so fairly close, right? I mean, if you look at this, from a distance, it more or less looks like we tested it, even though we came within a few percentage points of it. Now, today, we have come fairly close to it again. We've come within about 3%. All right, so a fairly close test of it. It's not, we haven't actually hit it yet. There's no guarantee we do, but what we are saying is that if history is any indication, there is a decent chance we at least touch it, or, as we said back then, we come within a few percentage points of it. Now we've come within 3% of it, and I guess the question is, well, are we actually going to go down and test it? Now, remember back in 2017 when we tested them, it sometimes lasted for a couple months before going back up, and other times it was nothing more than a wick, right? So you can see this one was just a wick down, but then other times we actually tested it for maybe a week or two, something like that. And there were other times earlier on where we tested it for 1 to 2 months at a time. So it was really the grind. Now, one of the things we've put out before, of course, you guys know that I think that the cycles for Bitcoin are in fact lengthening and that there's no reason the cycle has to end in 2021. I do imagine that a lot of other models out there are probably going to have to start compensating for that because there's just simply not enough time for Bitcoin to go to some of the prices that have been exclaimed by some of these other models within the next few weeks. Right, there's just simply not enough time for some of these outlandish Bitcoin price predictions of several $100,000 by the end of December. So please be pragmatic and recognize that, look, if you take the data for what it is and say, if you try to be very unbiased about it, they've always suggested that the cycles should theoretically lengthen and that there's no reason we have to have a market cycle peak in 2021, okay? And so I would say just hang tight, buckle up, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. But when we look at this, we can say, well, what is the bull market support band at today? That way you guys know what potential values to look out for in the event we drop to those levels and hopefully we get a bounce, right? So it more or less ranges from, and again, it's going to depend on the exchange you use, but you can see over here, the green and red number, it's ranging from around 50.6K up to 52.5K, all right? So, it's a fairly big range, right? It's a fairly big range of approximately $2,000, but 50.6 up to 52.5K, that's where the bull market support band is. And so if we were to go down to those levels, that would be where the bulls would want to hold the line to maintain the integrity of the bull market, okay? Now, if we go below it, first of all, if we go below the bull market support band and it's a wick, it doesn't matter, right? No one's getting out of bed for a wick. If we go below it and it's not a wick, then there still is theoretically a chance we can get back up above it the following week. There was an example back in 2013 when we got below the 20-week SMA. We had a weekly close below it, in fact, right here, but then we got back above it back at the following week. So if we were to close below, it's still not necessarily another 3 to 6 month lull, right? It's not necessarily that, as long as we can quickly get back above it. Now, it's interesting because the thesis that this version of, this market cycle is a stretched out version of 2013, it would be somewhat interesting if the first leg of this market cycle emulated the first leg of 2013, and then the second leg of this market cycle emulated part of 2017, where it would be like a systematic test of the bull market support band after failing to hold the 8-week multiple times. I think this would be somewhat poetic to show you that, look, it doesn't have to rinse and repeat any specific thing it has done in the past, but to realize that, look, every cycle is going to have its own characteristics. So when I look at this, do I see a market cycle top in 2021 of several hundred K? I know a lot of models are calling for that, and a lot of you guys have been telling me, like, look, hey, are these price predictions going to play out that some of these other models are calling for? Most likely not by the end of the year. Okay, and I think one of the issues with these models, that these analysts that are calling for these higher prices, they don't factor in the market cap, right? I know if you just look at price, it can make sense to think that it's going to go to a certain price just because it did that 4 years ago. Going from 1,000 up to 20,000 in the span of about a year for Bitcoin, while that may have been possible in 2017, for Bitcoin to go up 20x from 20K or something up to 400K within a year, it's just highly unlikely to happen at this point. So do not be discouraged. I would say, first of all, none of this is financial advice, but I would say do not be discouraged if those models are not playing out exactly as predicted, because I think they're just simply not accounting for a growing market cap. If they accounted for a growing market cap, it'd become a bit more obvious, or if they accounted for diminishing returns, I think it would become a bit more obvious. But a lot of those models don't account for market cap. They don't account for diminishing returns. They basically just assume that what happened last time is what's going to happen this time. And that's what I think that's where the big disconnect is, and why there's so many people that have unmet expectations within the asset class, because they've been promised these much higher valuations, and when they don't come out, when they don't pan out, people are upset about that. So, remember, Bitcoin is still at $54,000, and it was only a few months ago that it was at 29K back in July. So I still see an uptrend. We know that we can always get a test of the bull market support band, where we are getting somewhat close to it, within a few percent already. We know that most of the time, a majority of the time, when we fall below the 8-week moving average, Bitcoin does test the bull market support band. We saw that in 2017. We saw that earlier this year. We saw it back in September as well. Normally, going below the 8-week, we do test it. We are now within striking distance of it. So if we want to maintain the integrity of the bull market, then we need to see Bitcoin hold the line. Okay, if it holds the line, then we basically confirm the integrity for a few more months, and perhaps we can get another bounce to a new all-time high, and then we might just keep testing it for a while. Remember, there's no reason the bull market, the market cycle, has to end in 2021, right? There's no reason that it has to end in December. I see most predictions are calling for a December market cycle top. There's no reason that it has to end in December. Okay, so try to do away with that line of thinking that it has to end at a very specific month. I don't think that's the case. Maybe it'll end in December. Maybe it'll end in December 2022. I don't know. But the idea that it has to end next month, I think is a little bit. Honestly, it's a little bit optimistic to think that we could reach those prices that quickly. So let's see what happens here. If we hold the line, then we maintain the integrity of the bull market and we continue on. If we don't hold the line, which it certainly is a possibility, then we got to see what happens in the short term after that. One of the things you can look at, of course, is that short-term bubble risk that we've noted in the past. And remember, back in 2017, whenever we held the line, it was because we weren't getting that far extended from that 20-week moving average. Okay, when we get too far extended, we fail to hold it. When we get too far extended, we fail to hold it. Okay, so this time though, we haven't really gotten that far extended. Looks somewhat similar to 2017. Let's see if we can in fact hold the line and maintain the integrity of the Bitcoin bull market. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Check out the Black Friday sale on the premium list. You can find a link to that in the description below. You will get access to weekly reports and videos, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, the Into the Cryptoverse app. Obviously, you'll get access to these TradingView indicators that you see me using as well. And we also have a website with a lot of the different charts and the risk levels and all that stuff. So make sure you guys check it out, the Black Friday sale. You can find a link to that in the description below. We'll have that run through the end of the month. And as long as you do not cancel your subscription, you can keep the rate that you sign up with. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.